Hi from, my name's ElectricDonkey and today we're back on the Python series. Today, as I said in the last video, we're going to go through and do some error checking in the actual option files, because here we just did it in this and I kind of explained what they were. So now hopefully I can go and do some error checking and get this kind of sorted. I'm not sure if there's anything else I want to do. We'll see anyway. So we're going to start with this one. It's probably the easiest one to explain how we're going to go about the error checking, or specifically just the try and accept. So I mean, this is pretty much foolproof. Roll, return. Yep, I can't see any problems here. It's built in. Return is built in, and it's fine, and that's right. So return. That's foolproof. That's foolproof. That's foolproof. That's foolproof. This is all foolproof, this function. So we can leave that. And now we've got a little bit of a problem here, because if I run it, it's just this line here we want to be looking at. Just this one. And if it works, it's just going a bit slow. Oh wait, yeah, okay. I forgot we have to run from this far. We need to pick 3. Well, actually, what? Yeah, 3. And here, enter the number of players. This bit, if we were to put in a name, or just a string, then it'll crash. So that's a little bit of a problem. To test this, we're just going to whack that there, so we can just run it straight from here. So yeah, this line is a problem. So we can mark this a bit like that. This, well, that's built in. Turn is also built in, so we can also ignore that. So it is only this line which is our problem, which it's a point at which someone could deliberately cause a error, which is obviously not what we want. And this comes from the fact that we're using int. So because we're using int, if our input isn't in a integer format, it'll crash. For example, what happened there. So what we can do is, before setting it to an int, if we do that, now that is now a foolproof statement. Now that is, you can't cause a problem there, but if we did put h, this line would then fail, because it needs num players to be in an integer format. So we are going to have to make it an integer in some way, and that's why we're going to use our try and accept. So just like last time, we need a infinite loop, and we need our try and accept. So in here, what we're going to do is convert it to a integer, or attempt to convert it to an integer. Just a little bit like that. In the accept though, what do we want to do? Well, we want to print, what should we print? Let's say not an integer, or something along those lines. And this is all well and good and stuff, but then if we were to run this now, we should, in theory, having looked at it, see a little problem. If we put in h, it would just loop infinitely, because our while loop is just actually doing things slightly out of order, because it's asking for our input only once, and then it's just looping infinitely. So if it doesn't work once, it's never going to work again. We'd need to reset this. So if we put this under here in the accept, then if we run this and we put in h, it wouldn't work. If we put in another h, it wouldn't work. But any string in it wouldn't work. If we were to put an integer in though, it would work. However, we've forgotten one crucial thing, and even I forgot this. So it's worth remembering, and that's the break. We forgot the break. That's why I kind of crashed there, because of course this is all in a while loop. So we want to stop the while loop if it's successful. So if it's successful in turning it into an integer, we want to break, because then we can run this line. etc, etc, and it can keep going then. So if we were to put in a thing, it's not working, we put in a number, there we go. So that one was relatively simple. That's the only problem here, and that's how you'd go about looking for the errors as well, or where they could occur. Let's go on to this one, because this one is a little bit more tricky. Okay, so let's start at the top. Well, there's not going to be an error here. Oops. Here. There's not going to be an error here, because this is built in. I'm not exactly sure why we're passing in file name if we never use file name, but you know, I'm not going to question. I guess technically here we should put file name. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this. And the same here, we should also put file name. And we should of course close it at the end. So I'm not entirely sure what we were thinking there, but anyway. Now we've made those little corrections. Let's have a look at what we've got. So file open file name. Well, there's not really a problem here. Text. Well, there's not really a problem there. Close, no, not a problem. Return, not a problem. This, yeah, not a problem. File write, it's not a problem, because in theory input is always going to be in a string format because we're writing it down. So yeah, you can see that if you hover over it, it's always going to be a string. It says that read a string. So yeah, that's always going to be a string, so we can always write a string, so that's fine. And then this write, print, read, well yeah, that looks all okay. But of course there is a little bit of a problem, and it's not here like at the moment, but if I was to comment that line out and just try and read it straight off the bat, but say we hadn't already made this file, so this file didn't exist, yeah, we're gonna have to delete permanently, and we run it now, it's gonna come up with absolutely nothing. I guess it's not a problem in this scenario. I'll do it for the sake of, well actually it shouldn't be able to open it in the first place, which is a little bit odd. Oh, I know why. We've not called main again. So if you just put main at the bottom like that and then run it, we should in theory see some sort of error. Yeah, there we go. Because we've deleted text, it doesn't exist, and we want to read from it. This is of course a problem. If we did it this way around, there wouldn't be a problem, because write creates a file if it doesn't exist, and you can see there's no problem. But we're on the basis that this file does not exist, and we've not already wrote anything to it. So here what we can do is we can put a little try and accept inside here. So what we're going to try is we're going to try and open this file. It makes sense, right? If it errors, then the file doesn't exist. I think there's a file not found error. We could use that. If there's a file not found error, then what we're going to do is we're going to create the file. And the way we create the file is we just open it in write mode. Then we close it, and then we open it again in read mode. There is a way we could do this a little bit quicker, and I'll show you that in a minute. But now if you run it, the file doesn't exist, of course, but there you go, it's not errored. In fact, you can see it's created a new empty file, so they wouldn't error again. So yeah, I'll just explain quickly what's happened. We don't need the while loop here as well. It's another interesting thing to note. It's because there's no user input here. So it only needs to run once, because once it's run once, it knows it's created the file here. So what it's doing is it's trying to open the file. If the file doesn't exist, so it's not found, then it's going to create the file in the write format. It's going to then close it and then open it again in the read format. Now, I do believe, bear with me here, that there is a write plus, or a read plus, which if the file doesn't exist, maybe it doesn't, then in theory this should work. Okay, maybe not. Maybe the write plus. There you go. So if you use that, that is the same as saying read and write, I believe. So it means it creates the file and it'll also be able to read it. Of course, in this scenario, we could just move this into here and just change this to a normal write. Because in this scenario, the only case where we're going to be wanting to read anything is if we've actually opened it successfully. Because if we've just made a new file, we don't want to just output nothing. That's pointless. And then of course we want to close it regardless. So that's something that we use a lot with file handling, just making sure that it's there. And it comes up a lot more if you start using user input files. So instead of using a pre-written down like text.txt, if you're using, say, write file input, and then ask the user for some sort of input, asking where they want to save the file, then this could come in quite handy, because it would then create the file if it doesn't exist, or if it does, it would read it. So yeah, you can see how this would come into practical use. I'm going to leave it there for this video. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, or else do you guys want to do, and I'll talk to you in the next one.